watching over her. I had the night shift. And on this one particular night, my great Aunt Zora told me a story, almost like a family secret. She kind of whispered it to me. You know, family secrets are often told in the semi-darkness and in whispers, aren't they? My great Aunt Zora told me about a time when my grandmother protected her. My great Aunt Zora had married, I don't even know what year it was. But she had seen this dashing young man at church. He was good looking, and besides that, he was a deacon. That's got to count for something. And so she married this incredible young man, and they had 2 children. But my great Aunt Zora told me a story that night I did not know. And I don't know how many in the family know, but they'll probably know now. My great uncle Otis might have been a cute deacon, but he also was a very abusive man, verbally and physically. And that night in the shadows, my Aunt Zora told me a story. When she said, you know, one night, the kids and I had sat down for dinner, and we all 4 were there, and he wanted things a certain way, so I knew to be careful. But that particular night, I had forgotten to put the butter on the table. Oh my God, it's right. Because the moment he noticed that he didn't have butter for his biscuits, he turned his hand and just backhanded her across the face. Because she hadn't put the butter on the table. My great aunt said she got up, reached for the butter, and with her tongue licked the blood so her kids wouldn't see it and wouldn't be as afraid. And she said, you know, this is the 1940s. Now think about it. It was only 1920 when women had the right to vote. So in 1940, a man's house was his castle, and nobody crossed that. And so there was no domestic violence things. The preachers wasn't going to do anything. The other deacons, other men, other neighbors, nobody was going to touch that because a man did what he wanted to do with his wife and children. Until one day, my great aunt told me that her older sister, my grandmother, decided that it was enough. And on one afternoon, my grandmother showed up at my great aunt and uncle's home, and all 5'3" of her stood in front of this man and said, "You will not touch my sister again. You will never hurt her again." And he threw back his broad shoulders and said, "And what do you think you're going to do about it?" He said, "I'm taking her and these kids out of this house tonight." And he said, "You can't do that." "Yes, I can." "Well, they'll starve." And my grandmother looked at him and pointed a well-worn gardened finger in his face and said, "If I have one biscuit, they'll have half of it. If I have one potato, they will have half of it." And with that, she picked up her sister and her children, and they went home with my grandparents. Good. And my great Aunt Zora told me that they lived with my grandparents for a while. I don't remember asking how long. But at some time, there came a little 4-room house down the road that they helped them move into. It had a little outhouse out back. And she said that she started working with jobs and worked in the school cafeteria. You see, my great aunt was telling me that my grandmother knew how to do right. That my grandmother understood what it was to do good. And I don't know about you, but I think I've spent all my life trying to do good. Victor and I talked about this just the other day when he was a mere 99, 363 days old. Now at 100 he may have different wisdom. But Victor and I was talking, and he reminded me of a phrase that I had forgotten. Some of you might be old enough to remember it. He said, remember how old country people used to say, you know, we need to hope people? We need to hope people. Instead of using the word help, they used the word hope. Heard it all my life. We got to hope some people today. And isn't that a powerful word? That hope and help are almost the same thing? That when you help someone, you do give them hope? Well, all my life, I've been wanting to do the right thing. I've been wanting to be a good girl, Victor. And so I have been just like you. I have absolutely given food to my neighbors, and I bought them food. I don't cook that well. I've given food to the neighbors, and I've given to the food pantries, and I've donated goods and money. I've marched for justice. And I've built homes for the Habitat for Humanity, and I've cared for sick, and I've sat with the dying. And you have too, haven't you? We're all doing right. But I don't know about you, but I have felt that my entire life to be called to something more than that, to be touched and pulled by some mystery, to be touched and pulled by some mystery that goes beyond just doing right and helping people. I have felt all my life a hunger that the good deeds could not satisfy. 1 Corinthians 13 may give us an answer here. Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, and have not what? Love. I am become as sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith, so that I could remove mountains and have not what? Love. I am nothing. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned, and have not what? Love. It profiteth me nothing. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Do you mean to tell me that if I had all the ability, let's say, of tongues and of angels, if I could speak more languages than Dr. Victor Tynes, he speaks 4, by the way, if I had more ability to speak different languages, if I could talk to the spirits in the other world, say like Esther Hicks or John Roberts or folks like that, do you mean even if I'm the smartest person on earth, like, is it Stephen Hawkins they think is the smartest person? Even if I were Stephen Hawkins and, oh my good, give all the feed to poor, if I was even Mother Teresa and Joan of Arc, it would not be enough. It would not be enough without love. So what is this thing that we call love today? What is this power of love? Love is not some mystical, altered state of being. I'm told by Gangaji. Gangaji is a tremendous speaker of the Buddhist faith. Love is not some mystical, altered state of being. Love is simply one's natural state of presence. Love is simply one's natural state of presence. Oh my gosh. I've been trying to do good and do right just by doing. And oh my gosh, the power of love is simply being, isn't it? It is. Because we finally realize, we get to a place that we realize that we are the love. But I have to understand, how in the heck do I get there? How do I go to being from doing? And I've realized that when I can only do this, when I am no longer willing to play the role of victim. I'm willing to give up my story. I'm willing to quit cussing and moaning and groaning and justifying and defending and weeping and wailing. I'm even willing to let all those aggressors, all those people that done me wrong, go unpunished by me.
That's big.
The ability to see love as not some mystical altered state of being, but simply my natural state of presence.
Right.
My natural, hear that, my natural state of presence. I've got to give up playing the role of victim and my moaning and my groaning and my gnashing of my teeth. This week I went over to talk to Dr. Tynes. And if you've never sat with Dr. Tynes for an hour or two, you are missing on the best chance you're ever going to get. I would book an appointment before I left here today. I walked in that morning and he was sitting in his room and he said, I think it was Tuesday morning, and he said, I thought about turning on the television set, but I knew somebody would be coming in. Victor sometimes knows you're coming before you do. And Victor and I started talking about this birthday and this Sunday. And he told me something very powerful. He said, you know, last year, remember his 99th birthday?
Oh, yeah.
He said, you know, last year I was driving my own car.
Yeah.
I was running my own errands. I was caring for myself. But right before Thanksgiving, a little medical concern came up. And he said, this year I'm living in an assisted living facility. I sit in a wheelchair. I don't walk. My hands don't work quite as good as they used to. And then he paused and he said, but you know, I think I'm in this place. I'm in Carriage Hills. I'm in this assisted living place. I think I'm in this place so I can see love at work. I think I'm in this place so I can see love at work. He said, you know, people who minister to those who cannot help themselves cannot do that from good deeds. Because you will wear out, you will get cranky, and you will quit. You can't assist somebody from a good deed attitude. You have to stand and sit as the presence of love every single day to care for someone who cannot care for themselves. And so Victor says that love dresses me. Love bathes me. Love lifts me and puts me into bed. And he said, sometimes they look like they're 16, but they can just haul me up and put me in bed. He says, love prepares my meals. Love lifts me. And I think I'm here to see love in action. And I would add to him that he would be love in action. Because Victor said it this way. Love is the power that makes all things right. Isn't that incredible? Love is the power that makes all things right. And then he said simply, what else is there besides being a channel for love? What else is there? Because 1 Corinthians just told us, you can be the smartest person, for instance. You can be the kindest. You can get your body to be burned. You can feed everybody. It's nothing until we take on and become love. My great Aunt Zora said she did not know how my grandmother was able to stand up to her husband and take her and her children out of that abusive place. She said, I don't know how your grandmother did that. And when I was sitting with her on that night, months and years ago, quite honestly, I don't think I knew how either. But Aunt Zora, today I know. Today I know. I know that when you are standing as the presence of love, not doing good deeds, when you're standing as the presence of love, you can lift cars off of trapped bodies, right? You can run into burning buildings and save lives. You can care for the sick and the dying and not count the cost. When you stand in the presence of love, there's nothing you can't do. And you can certainly, oh my gosh, I'm reading my notes and I've got to tell you this. My notes say, and you can certainly stand up to a bully and a fake Christian. And that's how I felt when I wrote that last night. My grandmother could stand up to a bully and a fake Christian, but as I'm reading this now, I'll tell you something a little different. My grandmother could stand up to her brother-in-law because she understood there was a misguided soul who doesn't know who he is yet. She could stand up because it was just a misguided soul who doesn't know who he is yet. And right now, I have just come to realize that I have been holding my uncle, my great uncle Otis, in this ugly box all my life. Never met the man, but I've held him, Joe, in this ugly box of being some fake Christian and a bully and an abusive man. And I have held me in that ugly box with him. So in this moment, sorry. In this moment, I see my great uncle as a misguided soul who does not know yet who he is. And I will tell you this. When we stand in the presence of love, we can see people that way. We can call them names and hold ourselves in bondage. Or we can stand as the presence of love and heal ourselves and them. Now, I don't want you to leave here thinking that you shouldn't go out and do any good deeds. But here's the difference. When you stand as the presence of love, you're not just trying to hand out food. You are trying to end poverty in our lifetimes. Yes. When you stand as the presence of love, you are not just sitting with the sick. You will be there to heal them either through your touch or your research. Yes. When you stand as the presence, the world changes. And we change with them. And what I have realized in this moment, how do I stand as the presence? You do it thought by thought, sentence by sentence, word by word. When the anger comes up, you heal it and you forgive it and you let it go. Because you're going to stand as the presence. And thank you for letting me heal a lifelong of hurt for a great uncle I never met and never laid eyes on. Because, my friends, as we stand as the presence, we learn that love never fails. Love never fails. 1 Corinthians says it this way. Where there are prophecies, they'll fail. Where there are tongues, they will cease. And yep, knowledge will vanish away. But love never fails. Because we are the presence of love. And as Victor and I have spoken, so it is.